Ebola virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Recent reports indicate that about 18 persons have been confirmed dead as a result of the epidemic in the northern fringe of the Democratic Republic of Congo. That is could spread to other parts of the continent has led the World Health Organization to swing into action. Nigeria, drawing from previous experience, quickly announced preventive measures, stepping up surveillance and emergency centers in case it is reported in any part of the country. What may have led to this reoccurrence? What lessons did we learn from the 2014 outbreak that can be useful today? These and more are the questions Panorama from the Lagos Network Center will be examining. I am Michael Olaleye. Don't go away. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has asked the National Boundary Commission to adopt new strategies aimed at resolving communal crises and other matters relating to boundary. This was while declaring upon a retreat for managers and other stakeholders of Nigeria's internal and external boundaries, holding in Abuja. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
Presence here of stakeholders from the executive and legislative arms of the federal government, representatives of state governments, security agencies, among others, the retreat would provide viable and enduring solutions to Nigerians' border problems, so says Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Nigeria has over 4,000 kilometers of external borders, including its Atlantic coastline, in addition to the thousands of kilometers of borders that the 36 states and the FCT share with one another. What happens along these borders, the Vice President notes, greatly affect what happens within them.
Whether it is smuggling or oil bunkering, illegal oil bunkering, or the impact of undocumented immigration on the security situation, especially in the north-central states of Nigeria, or the communal clashes arising from boundary disputes, it is clear that all of these issues are issues that clearly concern the management of our borders and how well we're able to do so.
He says the federal government fully recognizes the significance of the National Boundary Commission's role, and as part of efforts to strengthen the commission and reposition it to more effectively fulfill its responsibilities, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the appointment of 6 distinguished Nigerians as members of the board.
Every nation attends to the peculiarities of its border issues with solutions that are nuanced, that are smart, affordable, and result-oriented. We simply cannot afford to do the things that we've been doing for so many years and expect different results. It is time to re-engineer our border, all of our border policies, and I believe that this is the paramount responsibility of this commission.
We have observed during our oversight that one of the challenges of the National Boundary Commission has been poor funding, and you are taking necessary steps that will guarantee improved funding in the Commission.
Recently, the House Committee on Special Duties conducted a public hearing on a bill for an act to establish the National Boundary Task Force for the protection of persons and prevention of communal clashes and other criminal acts and other related matters. The bill centered on the need to be proactive and not reactive to border issues.
The retreat is therefore born out of the need to inform, to exchange ideas, and to interact on all issues affecting our borders.
Nigeria shares land boundaries with the Republic of Benin, Niger, Chad, and Cameroon, and maritime boundaries with the Republic of Benin, Ghana, Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, and Sao Tome and Principe. In Abuja, Jide Onifade, NT News.
Judiciary has been urged to move with the rapidly changing face of technology to deliver justice to Nigerians. Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onoge, made the call at a maiden symposium on Section 84 of the Evidence Act for top judicial officers and jurists in the country. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okeowo reports.
Section 84 of the Evidence Act is the section that opens the door for the admissibility of electronic evidence in Nigerian courts of law. Before the passage of the Evidence Act in 2011, evidence generated via internet or through any electronic means were inadmissible as part of our judicial process. But even now, the interpretation of that section depends largely on the court's understanding of the dynamics of technology. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, however, says this divergence will soon give way for a uniform and legal interpretation, which is why a symposium is being organized for top jurists, prosecutors, and investigators in the country.
Notwithstanding the laudable provision of the law, therefore, extreme circumspection and acute vigilance must be key words for courts in this area of evidence. I therefore urge you all not to be in a haste to deliver rulings or judgments when issues pertaining to non-compliance of Section 84 are raised.
The National Judicial Institute thinks that a deeper understanding of electronically generated evidence will help justice dispensation in Nigeria.
The law cannot be and is not ignorant of modern business methods and must not shut its eyes to the mysteries of the computer.
It is believed that this symposium will provide an avenue to brainstorm.
Section 84 of the Evidence Act is one of the newest provisions of that act, and with modernization, a large chunk of evidence will come through that means, which is why the National Judicial Institute thinks it fit to train judges and jurists in that area. From the National Judicial Institute, Femi Okewu, NTA News.
The need for the international community to synergize for the promotion of world peace without prejudice to one's religious belief has again been emphasized. This was the submission of speakers at the 6th Annual Conference on Law and Religion in Abuja, ongoing in Abuja. Chukunonso Inwambueze reports.
Law and religion, records reveal, have been in existence since the coming of mankind. However, to strike a balance within the ambit of the law between one's religious belief and another's unbelief has been one of the huge challenges facing humanity. In a bid to finding a lasting solution aimed at tackling this challenge, these experts in law and religious issues are meeting in Abuja at the instance of African Consortium for Law and Religion Studies, ACLAS.
We need to understand religion. We need to understand the world, the reality. Those who do not understand religion, and especially abuse of religion, cannot understand what is going on in the world.
We have to take seriously the issue of freedom of religion in all its ramifications, especially in our days when freedom is very much of high concern.
In addition to prosecuting offenders under the relevant laws, I'm of the view that these belief systems should be addressed head-on by the mainstream of our society.
Human flourishing and reform in Islam, gender marriage rights, as well as crisis and corruption in Africa, dominated the sessions.
All the discussions and ideas we get from this conference are going to be very helpful.
The conference, which has as its theme law, religion, and human flourishing, drew participants from within and outside the African continent and is expected to end on Tuesday in Abuja. Chukunonso Inwambueze, NTA News.
Nigeria has been projected to witness an economic growth of 2.1% in 2018, even as the sub-Saharan Africa enjoys a modest growth uptick from 2.8% in 2017 to 3.4% in 2018. This was revealed at the presentation of the Regional Economic Outlook by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, in Lagos. Jane Ojukwu reports.
Despite substantial progress in revenue mobilization over the past 2 decades, sub-Saharan Africa, of which Nigeria belongs, is still the region with the lowest revenue to GDP ratio. Senior IMF representative to Nigeria, Mr. Amin Mati, stated that the sub-Saharan African countries are witnessing slow recovery, though vulnerabilities have continued to soar. He said Nigeria holds the potential to strengthen the outlook if it raises its domestic revenue mobilization and increases private investment towards achieving sustainable growth.
The projection for Nigeria is for going from 0.8% in 2017 to 2.1% in 2018. And so that's an upward trend, and that's mainly driven by agriculture and the oil sector.
Heads, Death Management Office, DMO, and National Economic Summit Group, NESG, highlighted some of the strategies in place and mechanisms adopted towards enhancing Nigeria's performance.
It's much more efficient in our tax area. There are a few things that government is doing that we need to work hard on it and implement speedily.
We raised 100 billion naira sometime in September for the funding of specific roads, 25 road projects across the geopolitical zones. Some of them are nearing completion.
With significant infrastructural development expected given the massive ongoing projects across the country and the enabling environment for private sector participation, observers say the horizon is certainly bright. In Lagos, Jane Ujukwu, NTA News.
The federal government is to begin oil exploration on Tongji Island following the reclamation of the land from neighboring Benin Republic. Nigerian ambassador to Benin, Kayode Oguntuashi, who led the government's delegation to the island, assured of President Muhammadu Buhari's support. Doindia reports.
It took the convoy about 4 hours drive from the Nigeria House Cotonou, Benin Republic, to arrive the host local government in Ikpokia, Ogun State, from where the forward operation base of the Nigerian Navy led the envoy through the waterways to the island. Ambassador Kayode Oguntuashi expressed President Muhammadu Buhari's delight for the cooperation and utmost loyalty of the dwellers to his administration, assuring them of federal government presence in the area.
This is part of also to tell you that the President is aware that this town and this island exists. That it does not only exist alone, that it will also continue to serve some very useful purposes, even for the federal government of Nigeria.
Tongji Island was first discovered in 1976 during the era of the former military administrator of Ogun State, Saidu Balogun. The island has since then been invaded by militants from the neighboring country.
The place is known to have oil for exploration, and oftentimes there have been threats to the people living in this community from our neighboring country.
If prompt attention had been given to it, and we also will be praying along our challenges we are having. According to what we have said that we are having problem of road. So I pray God will help them to take up with and do it in our own time.
In Lagos, Doindia, NTA News.
The preventive measures announced by the federal government to prevent the spread of Ebola to Nigeria has gone into effect at the Muritala Muhammad International Airport in Lagos. NTA News reports that intake checks are ongoing at the airport. Arriving passengers at the Muritala Muhammad International Airport going through a thermal scanner. It is one of the recent technologies introduced by the federal government as part of the measures to prevent the spread of Ebola to Nigeria. Health officials at the airport have been keeping an eagle eye as the incoming passengers go through the scanner, which records the body temperature.
If the alarm is raised based on the preset temperature, then the passenger will be asked to step aside. Then the passenger will be brought to this secondary screening area where further assessments will be done. Part of the further assessment is that temperature check also will be done here using the digital thermometer and the infrared thermometer.
We have advised the portals to check all their thermal scanner and the infrared scanners to see that they are well calibrated and they are working.
The airport has also provided this isolation center where passengers that exhibit any symptoms of the dreaded Ebola will be kept.
Our washrooms have hand sanitizers. We have provided hand gloves for airport workers that come into contact with passengers.
Following reports of the outbreak of Ebola in Congo, the Nigerian government immediately announced preventive measures. The disease claimed a number of lives in Nigeria in 2014. For further discussion on preventive measures across all borders aside the airport, we have in the studio Sunday Omilabu is a professor of medical virology. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir, why is the disease reoccurring?
Thank you very much. The disease must always be recurring because the reservoirs are still where they are. And once we come into contact with the reservoirs, and these are wild animals, bats is usually the one actually spreading it. The virus is known to be in bats. And once bats eat fruits, they easily contaminate the fruits. And other wild animals that pick from such infected fruits will usually come down. And then humans, especially the foresters, so they have their own job in the forest. So they come in contact with either the infected animals or the contaminated fruit. So it's the disease that will always be there.
Sir, some has argued that is as a result of not getting the specific drug to address, because most of the inventions on drug are basically based on trial, if I may put it. What is your take on that?
It's part of the reason why the disease will still have to be there, because once an individual comes down, the joy is that there should be a drug that at least will eliminate the disease. The whole world at least is putting their X's together in terms of drug development, in terms of immunotherapy, as well as vaccines. At least the situation now is quite different from where we were 2014.
Is it right to say that the recent outbreak in Democratic Republic of Congo is as a result of some of these factors, conditions you measured?
Yeah, that has been there. In fact, this will be either the 7th or the 8th outbreak of Ebola from that part of the world. In 1976, that's when it first started. They reported it in Democratic DRC and named it after a river close to the location, River Ebola, just to tell us. And since that one, we've been having outbreaks of Ebola in that axis. And then, of course, we know that apart from that, the disease can easily spread. So we've had more than 30 countries reporting the disease, including Nigeria.
What role can an individual play in ensuring that, in preventing the spread of Ebola?
Thank you very much. The individuals, they are the ones to actually fight the scourge. Just as we observed from the 2014 outbreaks in Nigeria, is the individual through mass health education that actually helped us to mitigate the spread. So the individuals are the ones that actually need to play that key role. Number one is they have to heighten their hygienic ways of life. And then, of course, we know the source of the infection through wild animals. So people that have to do with wild animals have to be very careful. While touching wild animals, they need to put on gloves. And if at all they must process them, they need to have a protection to protect themselves. And then, of course, those that need to cook it, they have to cook it very well to eliminate the virus. And aside that one, we cultivate the habit of washing our hands, which actually played a key role in mitigating the 2014 outbreak in the country. So we still need to resort to this. And we observe that apart from Ebola, it also helped to mitigate other infectious agents that used to be very rampant. Those are the observations we made during the 2014 Ebola outbreak in Nigeria.
You are aware of the preventive measures being put in place at the airports. What other measures can be put in place to ensure to curtail the spread to Nigeria?
Yeah, that's very key to controlling it because we're trying to see that people, just as we had it in 2014, it was a visitor that brought it to the country. And the likelihood of a visitor bringing it is very high, too. And then, of course, we know Nigerians travel a lot, and they have to go on business trips. Many of them are around the DRC, where it's happening right away. So we need to mount checking at our borders, not only the airports, the land borders. The land borders are very, very key. So we need to take a lot of attention at this. And, you know, we have a lot of porous borders in the country. So we need to heighten our eyes towards the land borders too, not just the airports.
In 2014, Nigeria was able to apply some measures to curtail. What lessons do you think we gathered from 2014 that could be useful in arresting the trend now?
Thank you very much. The part of what we learned from 2014 outbreak is what is being implemented right now, that we need to institute checking of people coming into the country, because we know that the virus is not resident in our country. So if you must have it at all, an individual must have come from another place to bring it into the country. The level we are now, we don't have the virus in the country. So it's only we have to now emphasize on those people coming into the country, be it a Nigerian or be visitors. You can easily get it from where the virus is. So the measures that being put in place is a part of what we learned. Aside that one, all the hospitals where we isolate patients, they are already at least in place, and we have more of isolation centers. And of course, the laboratory too that we make the diagnosis, they are in place. Apart from the lab in Lagos, so we have additional labs that have been put in place with skilled personnel.
An emergency operation centers is also to be set up by the federal government. What should be the focus of the center?
That's part of it too. Once there's an outbreak, or envisaging that in case there's an outbreak, the best thing is to have an EOC. The EOC is to actually be the one monitoring the activities of the scourge, the activities of the response, and making sure that we are doing the right thing. The EOC is very vital, and it's the EOC that will be updating the whole world as to how the control measures is ongoing, as to how we are curtailing it. So the EOC is very critical. It's one of the recommendations by the WHO. Once there's an outbreak, especially infectious disease, there should be an EOC.
I want to thank Professor Sunday Omilabu for making it a day. We hope when next to call on, you'll be willing to accept our invitation. We'll now pause for a break.
Slavery is an evil practice abolished all over the world over 200 years ago. But today, human traffickers are selling human beings as slaves in Africa. It is your responsibility to make sure that you and the people you know do not fall into slavery. Don't believe fake promises of jobs abroad.
People went to say Libya, Italy no use you when they carry me on top water. 4 days now they lock me for inside house, no food, no water. I nearly die. Now God, when me heaven and earth, now save me. If you get 1 naira for Nigeria, you get junior one, you say you no get papa, you no get mama, that make you come out. I beg go they do farm work. You better pass person when enter road.
Don't accept to travel to Europe through the Sahara Desert. You may be walking into slavery. Don't be a slave.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by Anti-trafficking.
Glad to know today. Up next, a sports update with Amazi Marcos.